Well, this is part 2 of putting together a Christmas quilt top for basically for a dining room table here. I just thought I might do something different for a tablecloth and make it lightly quilted, and that way it'll last a little while. I can also use it for, a blanket maybe, or not. But this is the motif with the print cardinals and the Christmas green and Christmas red. So the first thing you want to do, and I use the AccuQuilt system to do this, cut out all the components with the die cut. So you have your squares, you've got your rounded off triangles, that one fell down, and then you have these little 3-inch rectangular pieces. And you have just plain squares with the print, also plain squares with the solid colors as well. It uses 3 types of fabric, as you can see, a print and then 2 solid colors. And then for the centerpiece is following directions. Well, let's try that again. Camera fell over. Apologize for that. So you cut out all of your components, and then you're going to go by the instructions. This is great because the die cut comes with the instructions, how many of each component that you need. And I broke it down by hand myself so I'd know how many actually to cut out. And I'm going to make basically 48 motifs to do this, the size that I need. And so the first after you've got your components made up, and I noticed about one of them that there's 2 ways to put it together. Now in the instruction it doesn't tell you which way to put it together, so I tried it both ways. And the one I'm talking about is the one that has a print with a square and a triangle, and a solid with a print and a triangle. I mean with a solid triangle and a solid square. And of course these are going to get sewn together in the center because it's supposed to come out kind of looking like this. So I thought to myself, well, I could do it this way, or I could start with this centerpiece with the 2 triangles that are sewed into a square, as in this, and then put a floral square on one side, or a print on one side, and the solid green on the other side. But when I did that, I noticed something. It puckers. It doesn't lay the way it should, where I'm happy with it. It kind of, I don't know what I did with it now. I had it on the table to show you all just how, oh, it fell down. I think this is the one. Yeah. So what I did was, I did that. I put the square with the 2 halves in it, and then I sewed the square on either side, and it just didn't go together quite right. It didn't kind of line up, because in this die cut machine that you use with AccuQuilt, your triangle pieces have a rounded off edge. This is a lovely little rounded off edge. Well, that is the extra 1/4 inch that you need to seam these together. So if you're going to do this pattern like I have here, and it's called the plated block, and it looks like a chainmail almost. It's called a plated block. If you're going to do this one, I would suggest that when you go to put this particular component together, that you do it the floral 2 pieces first, and then the 2 solid. Match your triangles together because you have that rounded edge. That's your extra 1/4 inch, and put those together. And then I put 1 pin in this just to kind of hold it in place. I had a pin here. And then stitch it. And on your presser foot, I'm going to take this foot off real quick to show you. On any presser foot, your needle falls in the center as long as you have your needle lined up in the center. This far right edge, from that needle to that far right edge, is exactly 1/4 inch. All of your seams in your quilt are 1/4 inch. Unless you want to make them super skinny, but 1/4 inch is the rule of thumb. So just so that you know that with your presser foot. Every presser foot is that way. From the needle to that edge is 1/4 inch. So then when you match up the two triangles to sew this particular component, it comes up a whole lot more even and accurate in that sense. So I'm going to stick this in here and kind of show you. And stitch this little one. Always start with the needle in, especially when you're working with these little things. And hold that in place. I've had a few of these, I've had to undo them because my seam was too wide. I made it a little fatter than it should be. Like this one, it's not even. That's why it's really important to kind of like keep an eye on it. The great thing is when you're using this and not tying off the ends, all I have to do is pull one of the threads out because I didn't back stitch it. And that's a little trick you can do if you, in case you notice your seams are starting to be a little wonky. You take one of the threads and pull it through there, and it'll take out that thread for you. So I pull that out and then go back over it, but I'm going to take the pin out this time because I left where it was 1/4 inch exactly. I'm going to leave those stitches there to hold it in place and then stitch it the rest of the way at that 1/4 inch because it likes to slide sometimes. When you're working on some things, the fabric will slide on you, so you just got to take your time and make sure I don't make it too wide and go over that other stitching. So now it's good. Now I don't tie off any of these ends in here because I always use fusible interfacing to lock everything in. It just saves time. I don't know if that makes it a better quilt or worse quilt, but that's how I do it. And so I've got my two triangle parts sewn together. So now, and I like to do the little finger press thing. When I finger press it out, it stitches a lot more even. It really does. I know it looks kind of funky right now, but that's because I haven't pressed it, and I would need to press it. So I usually do that when they're done, after I've put them all together, that sort of thing. So that's that component. And then I told you in the last video that I was going to show you a little shortcut on doing multiple components at the same time, stitching them. So what I've got is I'll have all the same ones. I know they all get stitched on the same edge, and I will stitch through one to the end, stop, don't lift up the presser foot, and then very gently feed in the next one right behind it, and literally like fabric to fabric almost, and all it leaves is that one little stitch in between. And I'll show you, we're going to do that like real quick. So I'm going to take this little half and half, it ends up being a square, and go through. Take that pin out because it's making it slide around. Now I'm literally the needle is right at the edge, right in that triangle. Pick up the next one, and without lifting the presser foot, I need to turn that pin around. I had it backwards. I'm going to go ahead and start feeding this one through. It'll grab it and take it through the rest of the way. Come on, fingers. I don't want this thing to be crooked, so. The pins get in the way sometimes and make it slide around. I don't need it sliding around. Then I'm at the end of that one. Take the next one. And I did this for 12 different pieces earlier. And so now, almost looks like flags off of like a sailboat. I always have a nice big long tail when I'm quilting because it's. So now I've got 3 little extra thread hooked together, and then all you have to do is snip in between, boom, and boom, and press and open. I'm doing the fingernail press because I think it's fun. I just like doing it. Like that, and like that, and like this. And like that. And then there was this piece I was telling you was better to do it triangle to triangle for the last stitching part. And where's my pin? There it is. It was a lot better to do it this way, to assemble these guys. Take that out. And nice 1/4 inch seam. Snip that off. And I can go ahead and finger press that one. Like that. This one looks like it was cut a little wide. Or is that my seam? Okay, this one doesn't look too right. Great thing about using a little looser stitch is that you can separate them and fix it. This one doesn't look like it lines up quite right. It must have slipped around on me in there. What's gonna happen? Great thing about cotton, you can literally just take the stitches out. You just snip it enough and it'll come right out of there. So let me see why this one's acting silly. Well, it's just a little off, it looks like. Yep. So we'll go ahead and match these little rounded off ends again. Like that. Make sure that's pulled all the way out. It's always a good idea to press these as you're seaming them. I'm just trying to get them to line up the way they are. Sometimes these things get a little bit of a stretch to them, and I don't know how the cotton stretches, but sometimes it does. I'm going to try this one more time. It also helps to put it in there straight. And you can come out, buddy. And that gets in the way. Alright, now let's see. This should be better. And I kind of overjudged the... Yep, that was me. So now I've got one done. And so I have 2 of those with the green and then 2 with the red. So I need 1 more red one done. And we'll start piecing this little motif together. Yeah, if you match it up exactly with the triangle on the other side, where that curve is, it should come out the way it's supposed to. I have a foot problem. This foot's sliding off. Tighten it back up. Okay. Start it in within a 1/4 inch. That's the key with these, because you're going to stitch this to something else, so you'll need that lip for the 1/4 inch. Okay. I have a feeling I stitched it a little too far over. What happens when I try to do it without the pin? Yep, sure did. I sure did. I didn't match it up right. That's the good thing about, this is when you're putting the components together, you catch, because you want your seams to be even, especially when you go to match them up. And I need to get it on one end or the other. I had, oh, there they are. These little guys come in handy. A lot better than the big blades. They're magnetized. I got a neat, they got a pin stuck to them. So, let me go. Now I'm supposed to have that other light on to see, but it makes a big glares. But for right now, I need the extra light. Yeah. The lighting in this room is not the greatest. And I end up making a boo-boo. It's not that big of a... There it goes. Once you get it loose, it's pretty much will come out. There it goes. Okay. And cotton's pretty strong. You have no idea how strong it is till you start yanking at it. I'll put that in there. Okay. So there's that curve. So this guy, out there, and I'll pin this right over there so it doesn't slide on me. It's sliding. Okay. One more. Okay, we're gonna try it now. This way. With the extra light. Probably need the extra light down here. Take that out of the way. See, that should do it. Let's double check it. Make sure I don't have to stitch down any further. Nope, that's all I needed to do. I just need to, it was like a 1/16 of an inch. I just had to slide it to match it up. Not having the extra light, I really couldn't match it up that well. But when you go to press it out, it comes out. So this is that one, and there's that red one. So I got 2 reds, 2 greens. Basically, there's a lot of 2s in this design. So these are all the components needed to do this. So when you go to the instructions, I've got lots of threads floating around on here. So you would take this, I call it, or this red arrow piece, and it's facing this way. So to make this corner piece, you need, this is for in the center. I don't know why I start from the center. I start from the center and work my way out. I guess that's to make sure I did it right. But anyway, and this one has the green one on that side, because that goes down to a point. It's the 2 print and the 2 solids. And then the opposite of here is the 3 square piece, and that becomes 1 corner. And then in the center is, well, what goes next, let me move this out of the way. I'm going to put this just like this, because that's how I want to stitch it. So you have this corner, and then you have the main motif with either your green or your red. What's interesting about this design is each one of these exactly the same. And so when you match them up, when you go to match this motif to the next one, you sit them next to each other, and then you either connect them from the side, or you put it up here and you connect them from the front, and it works. It's just the way it comes out. So for this one, there is a one with the green that goes here, and then your next corner. So the next corner has I have this upside down, don't I? I do. For your benefit, I have it upside down. So we're going to turn it around the way it's supposed to be. And this goes, yeah. This goes like this. That goes down there, and this goes up here. And this arrow goes this way. So it's this one, and then your second section. It's in 3 sections, and then the last corner, which ends up being this one reversed like this. That goes there. Then you have the component that has the long green piece with the triangle, and then that. So once this is stitched, and then you got this guy, forgot the other one again, and then you got this one together, it ends up being like this. So I can go ahead and stitch this one. Then we're going to put this together so you can see. For time's sake, match these up. Now the important part about this stage of it, when you're doing it in rows, when you're doing your motifs, you're doing it in rows. And it's kind of like a 9 block. It's 3, 3, and 3. So there's 3 sections in each row. So it's 3, 3, and 3. Just some of the pieces are smaller than others. And when you match these up, you match up your ends, the end part. Okay. And if you have, this one has 2 seams on this port, but on the part that it's attaching to, there's only 1 seam because that's a 3-inch strip. But you want to make sure that this seam, the seam here, matches the seam on the strip on the other side. So you kind of want to line those up and then pin it so that it doesn't slide around when you stitch it, because sometimes when you're stitching with the machine, it'll move it. You don't want it to move. You want your seams to be lined up. This one's not going to have a seam to line up with, and I always turn my edges towards the center. It also gives it some strength. It also keeps it going the same direction. So let's go to this one. And Now I lift my presser foot up because I'm using a roller foot, and I don't want those seams to turn the opposite direction. Okay, beautiful 1/4 inch seam. That one. And ideally you would want to press these in between. Okay. Extra thread in here. Ta! Came through from the other side. That's pretty funny. Can always pull that through. It was loose threads that I did not trim off. Okay, so then this one is going to go on top of the previous row. So I have this piece. This is one that goes on the other side, right sides together always. And match up your edges like this. Match up the other end like this to make sure they meet. Like that. Da, da, da. And then the seam, the seam now is over here. So the seam matches up with this seam. So I'm going to match up those seams. Pin it as such so it doesn't wiggle around on you. And then put in one more pin in this edge here. Just like that. And this is going to be one of the corners. There we go. That. Roller foot kind of helps the fabric behave. When you come up to a pin, it's like you have to take the pin out. He doesn't like the pins. Fancy. Just like that. And now when you open it up, press everything towards the center of your flock. And now you have your first corner. So this matches this corner exactly. So then you stitch on your next piece. Make sure your seams match up. This. And like here. That. And put that, where's that seam at? So there's a seam right there. And we want to make sure that that stays put. So make sure that we pin that seam in place. And then come over. So it's usually about 4 pins for this, because it's about a 4-inch square for each component of the motif itself. And go with that. I've gotten used to, like, as soon as I come to a pin, pull it out. As soon as I've sewn just past it, I pull it out. Because of the roller ball. I mean, you don't have to have a roller ball foot. I just like using it for this kind of project. You can use a satin zigzag foot or a wide zigzag foot. It all works. I just prefer this one. And so now I have my next section. You're going to see it's the same. And then the last one, which I didn't sew those 3 together. So when I sew those 3 together, why don't you go ahead and do that, huh? Okay, let's go ahead and do that. I had them laid out, I just hadn't sewn them together yet. And there's my seam. Match up my seam there. And the edge of my square. Like this. And go over here. And match that little booger up. And then my end. Now if you find that for some reason your seams aren't matching up, check the seam of the piece that you're attaching to. It could be that you might have veered off a little bit and made it a little bit more narrow or more wide. Usually it's more narrow, has been the case, at least for me today. For some reason I kept making them too small. Get over that needle, over that pin rather, I should say. There we go. Trying to be consistent with these 1/4 inches can be tricky, but it is doable. And so there's that last piece. And let's see, this goes this way, so this one has to go like that. I'm following my previous piece. That's what I'm doing. Let's see, matched up. Yep. That's why I like these long pins too. It helps to match things up a little bit easier. Not a very sturdy metal, but they're good for doing layers like this. Just like that. That in there. When it hesitates, it's because sometimes because the pin, you gotta take the pin out. Almost there. And just like that. Somewhere along the way, my thread broke. I didn't even see it. About halfway down. So I'm gonna take that pin and move it. It might have been the problem, I don't know. Oh, it tangled itself up around the, oh, that happens. On the thread guide. And it also jumped out of there. So, a lot of times when you have it fighting against a pin that it doesn't like, it'll jump track. So that's why it's really important to double check your threading, and that's what I just did. I was like, why did my thread break? And a lot of times you find the answer just by going back and double checking your threading. That's like the first step to make sure that you don't, a lot of people think, oh, well, my needle's broken or whatever. They think it's the bobbin, they think it's the tension. It's none of those things. It's usually the threading. And when you're cutting your thread, cut it at an angle instead of straight across. Because someone told me that was a way to make sure that you don't have problems with threading your needle, and it really does make a difference. It used to take me 3, 4, 5 times, and now it's like, oh, so if I cut my thread a certain way, it'll go through. Let me put it back where I stopped. And then I lost my thread. Finish the rest of the way. When I hear that click, I know it's hitting the needle. Or pin, excuse me. That's when I know it's time to take the pin out. So, make sure it's all the way in the up position. Pull that out. So now I have this piece, and all I have to do is connect these two, and I will have my next side edge for the next motif.
That dessert was great.
Glad you liked it.
That was very, very good.
Not bad for making homemade blueberry pudding. I mean blueberry pie filling. Took some frozen blueberries and some sugar and cooked it until it was thick and bubbly. And added a little bit of xanthan gum as a thickener, just a teaspoon. Could have used a little bit more, I think, but that's okay. I don't like to use that too much. And like that. Secure this end. And follow like this. And down we go. Two. Come on. This way. You should. I'm just going to. Now I'm going through this whole process without pressing it, which normally I wouldn't do. I'm like a pressing fanatic, and it makes for such a much better laying project if you press it all as you go. So when you connect sections together, press them. It also makes your seams behave. Like these are kind of like, they look crooked, but they're not. It's just a matter of, I have to press it. So, anyway. So, here is the same strip as here. I have that. I have it upside down, don't I? Let me see, which way am I going here? Yeah, that way. There it is. Now they're the same. Okay, so you do each section in rows. So you do your outside corners, your middle section, and then your other outside section, and you stitch those together to make your motif. And I'm going to pin this just like here. And it ends up making, this ends up being about 12 inches, a 12-inch motif square. And if the fabric should stretch a little bit, what I'll do is I'll have it really, press it really good to make sure my seams are laying flat. And then I'll take the, put it down next to my lucite ruler, and usually it's just got a little crooked spot from being stretched out, and then I'll just trim it. That it's like usually like a 1/16 of an inch if it does do that. And I had another pin somewhere, so we'll put this in there. And the reason why you do it in rows is because it just lays better, and construction wise it makes it stronger. Now I realize this is a little more advanced kind of pattern, but if you take the same principles of the construction, even with a 9 patch, you can still make a beautiful quilt. It doesn't have to be this fancy. I like the challenges of it, and parts of it force me to slow down. So what I realized actually is the first motif I made it wrong. I made it wrong. The ends, which I'll show you when I put these together, are supposed to be open-ended so you can link them. And I made a boo-boo and didn't make it so it could be linked. So, this goes this way. I think it's right. Gosh, I hope I put this together right. It looks kind of odd right now, but let me see. I'm going to put this down. Does that make sense? No, that doesn't make sense. I think I put this on here upside down. Let me see. Da, 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 da. If I do that, I did put it on there upside down, didn't I think so. I think I twisted myself around. Let me double check myself. So, that's right. Oh. Okay, I'm confused. I think this is supposed to go this way. One goes that way, one goes this way. Okay, it's the one in the middle that got messed up. I think so. I believe so. I got the one in the middle wrong. Because this don't you love it when you mess up on camera? Because this is right. Or right. Okay. Let's see. Because I have my sides straight. When it comes to the center, I think I just kind of like freak out. Da-da-da-da. Come on, baby. Just need to snip a couple little stitches to get you started coming apart without having to resort. I don't like using a seam ripper on 1/4" seams because I end up cutting my fabric by accident, and I don't like doing that. There it goes. Okay. It's a great part. Okay. So, I have this. Oh, that's what I did. I turned that one upside down, didn't I? And then this one goes here. That's what I think I did. And then this one goes this way. Let me think. Hold on. That's that way. Oh, that's correct. Oh, see, I had it upside down. I should have pinned it first. So this, I'm actually going to pin these two. I want to pin this one where it goes, and this side. Then I'm going to go to this side and put this one where it goes. So I don't mess up again. It's good to have mistakes when you're showing people, because then you can fix them. Then show them how to fix it. So that's why I knew it was the center section that was messed up. goes in there. That seam except, see, I'm carefully matching up the little seams. And just like that. That seam there. And I need another pin here just because it's a lot of loose fabric. Some more pins out here. And match that seam up there. Da-da-da-da-da. That. And then this one doesn't have a seam, and then this goes to the end. Voila. So that goes to the end, put that right there. And see, if I'd pressed this out, it would actually stretch out to where it needs to be, and it's not pressed, so that's my bad, my fault. So I actually kind of end up stretching it as I sew it, just to make sure that my seams line up properly. I'm going to put an extra pin here just because. Okay. And then this guy, outside seam. I will usually pin the corners first and then work my way in to the seams. And I look for the seams, like here's a seam here and there's a seam there. So I want to make sure that those little guys line up together where they're literally touching each other. And then I'll put a pin right in them. And then I go the same way here. This side. Like that. Come down, got a long spot. And then I have a seam here and a seam there. Make sure those guys are touching. Like that. Stick a pin right through there so it doesn't wiggle around. So yeah, it seems like a lot of pinning, but it makes sure that your seams line up. The first one I did, it's kind of on the wonky side because I was in a hurry. You should never be in a hurry when you're doing this. Not really. So match that bad boy up. That. If they're a little off, I guess it's okay. I mean, this is just going on the table, but I haven't been doing this long enough to really be perfect at it. And that is all well and good. So we will be real careful on this because I've got two sets of pinning here. So I'll do this one side where the band is on one side of it. Put it in there. And put the needle down. Take my time. Take that pin out. Take that one out. Take them out as I go. You're in the way. Make sure I don't catch the other fabric, the other side. Okay. Got stuck there. That out. It just helps it glide through there better. And down to the end. Yep, and one more. Okay. Double check my seam. Looks good. Okay, cool. It didn't go haywire. I actually was able to straighten it up some. And the other side is next. Just this one. And we'll pin that, put that down. Okay. Excuse me. Ta-da-da. Too many pins right there. I didn't want to make sure that seam didn't slide around. Straight. Trying to keep it straight. With a challenge. Don't. Nope. All right. Nice 1/4 inch seam right there. Looks pretty good. All these pins up. And the proof is in the pudding. And you open it up. And when I found my boo-boo, of course it's all kind of bubbly because they haven't pressed it, which I will do that before I, start really putting it together. And you can see the interlocking of threads everywhere. Yes, I end up sweeping this room. Where you can see, looks like a red chain here, and then a red one here, and then the green is on the opposite. You see how that interlocks? Pretty neat, huh? So when I do the next block, and this is one side of that next block, because I'm doing it in rows. Let me get some of these threads off of here. I normally will cut them as I go, but it gets crazy. And so with this design, okay, you basically make sure that you have you match up the same colors. So in other words, when you put the next block to this one, you're going to put it this way because you want that green circle to continue on. And then this will go the other way. So if I finish this block and I wanted to connect it on this side, it's the same thing. You just turn it the opposite direction. That makes sense. So I'll do a second block and then I'll show you how to connect the two, and then you just go from there. It's been a little confusing, and I'm kind of glad that I did some boo-boos to kind of show you how to recognize that and fix those. This is just step 2, and you actually construct it, put it together, and then when you actually do a motif, then the next step is to connect your motifs together. And this one does not require any kind of banding on it in between because it's a continuous design of these interlocking chains. So next time we'll connect another square or two, and then I'll show you how, it'll be nice and pressed, I promise. I'll show you how to preserve it, and to lock in those stitches before you put your batting in it and your backing on it. I hope you've enjoyed this attempt of mine at doing something more challenging in quilting, because anybody can do Lincoln, what I call it, log cabin. Anybody can do an eye patch. Well, I thought I'd give myself something a little tougher, so this is kind of like on an intermediate, maybe not so advanced, but intermediate level. If you've liked this video and you'd like to see more, even more basic, more simple steps, please let me know in the comments. And I do appreciate you all for watching, and thank you so much, and God bless, and come back and see me again.